this is Ian, and welcome to another video. Today we're doing something a little bit different. While I'm doing a pattern, I will be reading chapter 1 of Hermitcraft Genesis, which is book 1 of Hermitcraft Genesis, which is a spin-off series of my Clockwork Chronicles world. It takes place, technically, it takes place during Marvelous Wonder, but also after Marvelous Wonder. But after Defender, so it's somewhere in there. Initially I tried recording it on my phone, but there's this weird problem where, when I try to import the video, it just, blur out the words, so it, makes it really hard to see. So I'm trying this and seeing if it works. And if not, I will probably go back to doing it on my iPad, which is fine. I just wanted to try something a little bit different, see if it works. But yeah, we're going right into this one. And yeah. Chapter 1. Grian stared down at the book in his hands, unable to read the words on the pages through his bleary eyes, brimming with tears. The sleepover room in Gem and Pearl's new base was quiet, apart from the soft breathing of his friend sleeping next to him. The walls seemed to be closing in all around him as he closed the book, resting it on his lap, salty tears slipping down his cheeks. The hermit blinked, looking up from the book to take in the rest of the sleepover room Gem and Scar had finished no more than half an hour before. Had it really been half an hour? Memories of what happened flashed into his mind. He spent the entire morning upstairs with B-dubs, working on the walls for the second story of the base. He closed his eyes, trying to remember the bright blue sky, the sun shining down on them as mid-morning turned into afternoon. Grian leaned his head back, resting it against the wall. Not that long ago, Theodore Campbell sent parties of his men to attack the fortress that Gem and Pearl had spent months building. After the ambush, the girls wanted to make sure something like that would never happen again. Never happened again. Fortunately, almost everyone got out safely. It was only a few injuries. Almost. A whisper reminded him. A whimper escaping Grian's lips, remembering Liam informing him that Caden was killed during the aerial ambush, crushed under rubble, trying to protect Haley, who was with him. The man was gone before Liam had gotten there. The group had escaped and hid out at Folsom Base, where Liam and Impulse were staying to work on a secret project for Liam's aunt, while Grian, Scar, Gem, Pearl, and B-dubs continued work on the base under the watchful eye of Pearl's protector. No one would have assumed that they would be attacked so soon after Campbell had sent Stuart, one of the many men who had the pleasure of tormenting and harming Grian, to attack his friends. They managed to stop it and take care of Stuart once and for all, but Campbell would make his next move soon. "This isn't fair," Grian whispered, hearing a soft groan beside him as he looked over to B-dubs, who was cocooned in soft blankets. The hermit's eyes were closed, hiding the usual bright and cheery gray underneath. B-dubs looked peaceful, although his face still appeared pale. Granted, he'd been brutally attacked by two assassins half an hour prior. The memory was like a looming shadow as Grian shuddered. Pearl had gone down to wait for them below, wanting to get a report from her protector. B-dubs and Grian were cleaning up, when all of a sudden, two men in black uniforms, eerily similar to Mr. A's design, had come from above and attacked them. He remembered being shoved hard against the wall, one of the men lunging at him with a shiny iron dagger, when B-dubs jumped in to intervene, being attacked from both sides as the men cornered him. It had taken Gem, Pearl, her protector, and himself a few minutes to chase the men away. Grian looked down at his friend. the memory seeming to constrict around him as he let out a defeated sigh. Grian had gone down to the sleepover room to look for Scar, who was working on making potions, while Pearl called Liam and the others, reporting what had happened. It didn't take Grian long to realize Scar was not there. The only sign were the unfinished potions hanging in the brewing stands. I just can't figure it out, Bubbles. Why didn't I hear anything? Feel anything? Was it because I confused his fear with my own? Grian put his head in his hands, wiping away the tears from his eyes. He hadn't even heard a cry for help in all the commotion. The last time he'd seen his friend was this morning, when they had arrived. It only takes a moment. Guilt pricks the hermit's heart at his own words. The hermit closed his eyes again, letting his mind relax as he tried to reach a mental hand to Scar's link, the way he was able to talk telepathically with his friends. Grian ran into a mental wall as he gasped in surprise, unable to pass through. He pushed against the barrier, but it wouldn't budge. Scar, can you hear me? Grian pleaded, his heart constricting in anticipation for something. Any hint of a response. Nothing. He opened his eyes again, shaking its head in defeat. Did Impulse have better luck? Impulse promised to do everything he could as soon as Liam, Impulse, Kay, and Eliza stopped by. Everyone else was back at Falsus preparing to move to this base once they were ready. I wish I could help, Grian thought, staring down at the book that had slipped from his lap, lying flat on the floor. Grian looked up when the door opened, turning his head to see Impulse peek his head into the room. His dark brown eyes meeting Grian's. They had a little bit of a spark to them. How's Bubbles? He's still sleeping, Grian said simply, nodding over to his friend beside him. You'd know if something was wrong, right? Impulse nodded, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him. Grian noticed a glimpse of someone leaning against the wall, just beyond the door. Fortunately, he wasn't infected with anything. I know Julius was worried about that. He was? Grian frowned. Impulse hesitated for a moment before letting out a sigh. Julius told me he was helping a fellow friend of his father's, Dr. Rhinestone, with a new virus of some sort. He's already told me what he knows about it, but wanted me to be careful. Rhinestone could have changed the recipe after Julius defected. Grian shuddered. You have an antidote, I hope? Grian smiled. Impulse smiled gently at the hermit, crossing the room. Don't worry about it, G. We would have figured it out. The thing is, he wasn't. So it's possible Dr. Rhinestone wasn't working with them. You're right. I'm glad we didn't lose him. I'm just glad we didn't lose him. Like we did Skiz. Impulse finished, putting a hand on his friend's shoulder. Honestly, I am too. Grian smiled weakly, lifting his head. Any news about Scar? I've been trying for the last half an hour, Impulse said calmly. Whatever they did to block him from us, it's making it harder to reach him. Same here, Grian's shoulders slumped. Is there nothing we can do? Maybe not alone, Impulse said reluctantly, giving his friend a small, lopsided smile. Grian looked up at the hermit curiously. You need my help, you mean? I've found it easier to reach people when they're asleep. Like how you and Scar saved me from my nightmare. But wouldn't the kidnapper be expecting that? We have to try, Impulse met his gaze. Grian swallowed, recognizing the determined look in Impulse's eyes. What do you need me to do? Grian asked, glancing toward the window. Tonight, we meet in the dream world and find Scar. Impulse got to his feet. We won't stop until we do. I believe we will, Grian said, quickly forgetting the sense of guilt and dread gnawing at him. Scar will find a way to reach us. Impulse smiled. Find him. Grian stood up from where he'd been sitting, picking up the book lying on the floor, placing it on the nightstand beside Beat-Up's bed. How's the secret project going with Liam? Still curious about that? Of course, Grian said excitedly. I have to find some way of getting you to talk without reading your mind. Impulse laughed. We're getting somewhere. I asked Dumpy if he could check to see if there's been any activity lately. From where? Grian asked. Sportal? Yes, Sportal. I think someone else should take the next shift early to watch Beat-Ups. You've been spending too much time with your thoughts. Grian giggled. A promise is a promise. Scared I'll sneak off if I'm not busy? No, Impulse said with a nervous chuckle. You can help with the house tour when the others get here. I don't know if that's a good idea after last time, Grian admitted. As long as you're with someone, you should be safe. I was with Bubbles, and we still were attacked, with Pearl, Gem, and the cause member nearby. Grian's eyes widened with a nervous smile. The smile faded as Hermit added, How did they know we were alone? The scar was downstairs. Alone. I don't know. Impulse shook his head, strolling to the door and opening it. It's not the cameras, and the communicators don't have bugs or trackers. Maybe the window? Grian looked over at the window across from the door. There was no break-in or sign of a tunnel, Impulse reminded him. They must have used a portal, unbeknownst to Doc, again. Grian groaned, standing closer to Beat-Up's bed. I'm not going anywhere until I know Bubbles is safe. Impulse chuckled. Pretty sure Bubbles wasn't their target. Grian looked down at the hardwood floor. I know. Please, Grian, come out to the main room with me. Impulse insisted. Everyone's worried about you. I'm fine. You lost a protector, attacked by assassins, and Scar's gone missing. Impulse crossed the room, wrapped an arm around Grian's shoulders. If those assassins were Mr. Hayes, then no doubt they'll be back to try again. I hope they don't, Grian muttered, wiping away the remaining tears from his eyes. This has to stop. We won't let them win, Impulse said. Right now, I need you to be strong. Scar needs you to be strong. Grian nodded, taking a slow, deep breath. He heard a door opening, followed by voices as he smiled. Okay, I'm ready. Impulse grinned, letting Grian go as the two of them walked out of the room, strolling into the main room as the teens and Clara, besides, somewhere around there, somewhere probably at the front, entered from outside. The older woman smiled, and the hermits in greeting, as Grian tried to relax and enjoy the moment. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for this video, in Chapter 1. I'll see you guys in the next one, whatever that might be. Goodbye.